Recently I was asked the question, can vaccines actually alter the way you think, the way you behave, or alter the way anybody behaves for all that matters? Seriously, can a vaccine do that? Well, in a kind of our little informal meta-analysis we're about to represent to you or show you, the answer to that is actually yes. Unless someone comes out to prove these studies otherwise, it is actually a definite, strong, without a doubt, yes. And so let's get right into the research. Let's look at this first graph right here. This graph is from Illness, Cytokines, and Depression, published in the Psychoneuroendocrinology in 1998 May. All right, so look at this graph. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to read you the subtext to the graph itself. Effects of vaccination with live attenuated rubella virus on, hear that again, effects of vaccination with live attenuated rubella virus on psychological parameters measured in 12-year-old girls with low socioeconomic status before and after 10 weeks after the vaccination, compared to their own baseline and to levels of girls who are already immune to rubella before vaccination, the control group, subjects who were seroconverted following vaccination, the experimental group, yes, the girls that we are experimenting on with the rubella vaccine, showed significantly increased levels of total and emotional depression measured by the Children's Depression Inventory and significantly higher incidence of social and attention problems and delinquent behavior. You see, you check out the graph, you see a little part where delinquent behavior skyrockets. You actually look at the people that weren't vaccinated, how they actually seem to get better after 10 weeks. Now follow the lines on this next graph. This is kind of amazing and disturbing at the exact same time. Look at the depression scores go up. Now keep in mind, those scores don't go back down, but the study ended after 10 weeks. So who knows when things got better after a 10-week period of time. Again, we're not trying to argue the efficacy of a vaccine and prevention of illness or anything like that. We're just trying to show, do vaccines actually alter human behavior or your behavior or the behavior of your children? Kind of important to know if your child's kind of depressed as it is and you give them a rubella vaccine on top of that, that it may not necessarily make things necessarily better. Study number 2, change in human social behavior in response to a common vaccine. That vaccine being the flu vaccine, published in the Annals of Epidemiology 2010, October. What did they say? The purpose of the study was to test the hypothesis that exposure to directly transmitted human pathogen flu virus increases human social behavior pre-symptomatically. The hypothesis is grounded in empirical evidence that animals infected with pathogens rarely behave like unaffected animals. So we're animals. And in evolutionary theories applied to infectious disease, such behavioral changes have the potential to increase parasite transmission and or host solicitation to care. It's kind of like, the study that came out of the pertussis vaccine, the recent one. They show what ended up happening is they were still infected, the people that got vaccinated, just that they were symptomless. So it caused the whooping cough to actually spread. Interesting research. Let's proceed forward. And this is what they found out from the flu vaccine. Human social behavior does indeed change with exposure compared to the 48 hours pre-exposure. Participants interacted with significantly more people and in significantly larger groups during the 48 hours immediately post-exposure. Problem is the study only went 2 days, so I can't tell you much more past the 48 hours. But let's go to study number 3 and looking at our analysis of whether vaccines actually change behavior. Now we're not talking autism or anything like that, we're actually talking the way you feel and think as a grown adult. This one's kind of interesting. In the study from Biological Psychiatry 2009, September, this is what they said. Inflammation causes mood changes through alterations in the subgenual circulate activity and mesolimbic connectivity. In a double-blind, randomized crossover study, 16 healthy male volunteers received typhoid vaccination or saline placebo in 2 experimental sessions. Now you got kind of the clue here. Cytokines from the vaccines had something to do with depression itself because it creates some sort of inflammation in the brain, which does some nasty things as far as the way you feel and the way you interact with others. But let us proceed forward. In the typhoid vaccine, but not placebo injection, induced an inflammatory response indexed by increased circulating interleukin-6 and significant mood reduction at 3 hours. So it's kind of like you get your typhoid vaccine before you go on vacation. They go, here's your shot. 3 hours later, you don't feel like going anymore. But let's proceed forward. Inflammation associated with mood deterioration correlated with enhanced activity within the subgenial anterior cingulate cortex, otherwise known as the SACC. Now, here I go. I'm going to show you these neat little pictures here. Look at the pictures. Look at the brain inflammation. It's kind of how it alters the brain, kind of makes like some sort of neurological soup. Let's keep moving forward. A region implicated in the etiology of depression. So the greater activity in that area, the worse you kind of feel during emotional phase processing. That's how they tested it. Furthermore, inflammation-associated mood change reduced connectivity of the SACC to the amygdala, medial prefrontal cortex, nucleus accumbens, and superior temporal sulcus, which was modulated by peripheral interleukin 6. So what it did is it basically, within 3 hours, began to start changing the connections, reducing some, increasing others, shortly after the vaccination itself. Now again, it's not an argument for or against vaccinations. This is basically saying, do vaccines alter your behavior, or can they alter the behavior of other people? Yes, there is a strong chance they can. Not necessarily everyone, but can they? According to these 3 studies, it's an unequivocal yes. Again, this is Ralph for our channel. Hope this helps. Any further questions, I'm going to link the DOI citations so you can research on your own. And thank you very much.